The Return of Mugabo, a tale of hate, redemption, and unresolved darkness. The year was 2020, and Rwanda, like the rest of the world, found itself trapped in the grip of the COVID-19 pandemic. Lockdowns were imposed, cities fell silent, and the once bustling streets of Kigali, Rwanda's capital, were eerily quiet. Yet, amidst this global crisis, one figure reappeared from the shadows of history, a man whose actions had haunted the collective memory of Rwanda for over 2 decades. In the years following the genocide, Mugabo was caught, convicted of war crimes, and sentenced to 25 years in prison. During his time behind bars, Rwanda underwent profound transformation. However, Mugabo, like many former perpetrators, was not ready to embrace the country's new vision of reconciliation. Mugabo was released from prison in 2020 after serving 2/3 of his sentence. By this time, Rwanda had moved forward, working tirelessly to erase the painful remnants of the genocide and to build a more unified society. Yet Mugabo remained consumed by the poison of his past, by his unshakable belief in the ideology that had propelled him to participate in the atrocities of the 1994 genocide. The ideology of Hutu power, the extreme belief in Hutu supremacy and the extermination of Tutsis, still burned brightly within him. This ideology had been central to the violent propaganda spread by the Hutu extremists in the years leading up to and during the genocide. After his release, Mugabo quietly returned to his village, but his mind was far from the peace that Rwanda now prided itself on. The world had changed around him, but Mugabo's hatred had not. The peaceful reconciliation efforts of the Rwandan government, the apologies, the community healing, the genocide memorials, none of it meant anything to him. In his mind, the Tutsis had not paid for what they had done, and the mission of Hutu power had been incomplete. Mugabo's journey was not one of quiet contemplation or reflection. Rather, it was a determined search for the families he had destroyed, families that had been obliterated during the genocide. He made his way from village to village, asking questions, seeking out survivors who could tell him the stories of the families whose lives he had shattered. One such family caught his attention, a Tutsi family that had been slaughtered in the early days of the genocide. Mugabo remembered their faces, their cries, the children he had killed in cold blood. But there was something more. A story had reached his ears. One child, a young boy, had survived. Mugabo was intrigued, almost consumed by the idea that this boy, now a man, was still alive. He tracked down the survivor, piecing together rumors and stories. It took weeks, but Mugabo finally found him. Now a young man in his mid-20s, living in a village on the outskirts of Kigali. The young man, named Emmanuel, had grown up in the aftermath of the genocide, haunted by the memories of his lost family and the life he had never truly known. He had made a life for himself, becoming an advocate for peace, a symbol of survival and reconciliation. But to Mugabo, Emmanuel was nothing more than a symbol of the unfinished work he had left behind. Mugabo, filled with a terrifying sense of purpose, approached Emmanuel one fateful afternoon. He had no intention of reconciling, no interest in acknowledging the life Emmanuel had built. The ideology of Hutu power still rang in his mind, louder than ever, demanding that he erase the very symbol of Tutsi survival. Mugabo confronted Emmanuel, offering him the false appearance of a chance for peace, a facade that would lure the young man into a false sense of security. He spoke with calmness, almost eerily so, about the events of the past, pretending to sympathize with Emmanuel's losses. But beneath the surface, there was only one thing on his mind: death. In a moment of cold and calculated violence, Mugabo struck. Emmanuel, who had survived the slaughter of his family decades earlier, fell victim to the man who had once been one of the very perpetrators of that violence. Mugabo killed him without remorse, with a chilling sense of finality. To him, it was the completion of a mission he believed had been interrupted all those years ago. The police were quick to respond. Mugabo, having carried out the murder with such chilling efficiency, did not flee. Instead, he walked to the local police station and surrendered himself. The authorities were shocked, as Mugabo's return had been met with mixed feelings. While some welcomed his release as part of the country's commitment to reconciliation, others were deeply disturbed by the possibility of a man like him returning to society unrepentant. As he was interrogated, Mugabo was eerily calm. He offered no remorse, no explanation for his actions. When asked why he had killed Emmanuel, he simply said, "I do not know. This was my mission and I have completed it. What becomes of me after now, I do not care." Those chilling words reverberated throughout Rwanda, leaving a nation stunned. Mugabo's cold indifference to the life he had taken, even after all these years of supposed healing, made no sense to the people of Rwanda. It seemed as if the darkness of the past had never truly left him. The murder of Emmanuel sent shockwaves through Rwanda, shaking the very core of the country's journey toward healing. The nation had worked so hard to rebuild, to move forward, and to bring justice to those who had suffered. But Mugabo's actions were a stark reminder that, for some, the hatred that had fueled the genocide still burned, hidden beneath the surface. Rwandans, young and old, asked themselves the difficult question: why? Why would one carry on such hate, even after all these years of reconciliation? After the pain, the suffering, and the loss? Asterisk, asterisk. Was it the ideology that had never truly been purged from his mind? Was it the deep scars of a history that he could not escape? Or was it something darker, a refusal to let go of a past that had given him a sense of power and purpose? The incident forced the people of Rwanda to confront the uncomfortable reality that reconciliation, while a noble goal, was not an easy or perfect process. There were still ghosts of the past haunting the present. And while Rwanda had made incredible strides toward healing, the seeds of hatred, once planted, could take root again if left unchecked. Mugabo's return and the murder of Emmanuel became a symbol of the unresolved darkness that can linger in the hearts of some, even after the world has moved on. And it reminded the people of Rwanda that the path to true healing is long, and that not all wounds have been fully closed.